Good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to be talking to Mr. Lonnie Loyola, from Flat Earth Magic, and talking about his projects and general Flat Earth research. So, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Jenny.
Hello. So, what I'm really interested in is what you've been doing, Lonnie, with your magic. And I saw one of your videos where you were standing on the roadside and you had some signs saying this, you know, the earth is flat. What kind of reception have you got from that?
I got a lot of great responses, more great responses than I have negative responses. One thing I always make a point is that it's not just about me. It's about moving share the truth as much any misdirection or distraction like models. I would Google flat Earth and make your own choices. Don't be biased. Look at it. I mean, if this were evidence instead of a courtroom, we have physical observable evidence compared to two models that don't possess not one piece of physical observable evidence. We would win. Again, I'm in it for truth and truth only. When I first came across it, it was very difficult to comprehend, but then I had the kind of mind frame that says, hey, I want to know how this works and why it works. I don't have all the answers, obviously, but I feel like I had the advantage above the average person who is starting because I do magic and I understand the way deception works and the way that misdirection is involved amongst large groups of people. So I think it was about a month or so, maybe a little over a month, that's when I realized, okay, the earth is flat. And then I thought, well, how do I share this? I used to hold signs up telling people how awesome they were every weekend after I would come back from my 40-plus hour job. I would just tell people how awesome they are, just to keep promoting positive attitudes. It was just about being positive at that time. And I thought, well, why not hold these signs up? And it's a different feeling, that's for sure. Very intense. You couldn't pay for a feeling like that. There's not an amount of money that you can have that will give you that feeling.
Yeah, I can kind of imagine it, but because just talking with people online and bringing the subject up with friends and family, people's reactions can be quite strong. So I imagine you got some funny looks that day.
I do. I was a little shocked to see the support behind it. There's more people that know about flat Earth and who are aware of it than we know about. I was just randomly buying some DVDs for my children, and this guy next to me sees my hat. He's like, "Oh yeah, rock on flat Earth." And I was like, "What do you know about flat Earth?" He's like, "Man, the Earth is flat, bro. Don't you know?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I know."
That's awesome.
And sometimes I even feel like a bum because I only wear my flat Earth shirts every day if I'm not working. I want to share it as much as possible. I got different ones, of course, but I don't feel uncomfortable wearing it. I think that you have to be comfortable. You have to enjoy it. It's definitely kind of scary because once you find the details involved in the depth of the rabbit hole, that's when it changes the game for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Each day you go down this rabbit hole, there's a different twist and a different turn, and a new door opens, and it is kind of never ending. It encompasses the whole world literally. That's how it is. You're just talking about doing, because you do magic and how to deceive, groups of people. How do you think that they've taken it from groups of people to the whole world?
So with magician looks at it. I do up close material, and I do so. My favorite is walk around because I get to interact with the crowd itself instead of being on a stage, storytelling with a couple of props. So they know that the majority of people will believe what they see as long as it looks real. And the majority of the people on the outside who can see it for what it really is know that it's not real, but it's a smaller number. So when they advertise to the mass, like, try to imagine a big auditorium full of people and you're on stage. Doesn't matter if you're singing or if you're doing magic or whatever you might be doing, a trampolinist or something weird, I'm not sure. But imagine all those people focusing on you. You're doing something so abnormal and weird that the majority of the crowd believes it. Then there's a smaller group that's like, okay, it has to be fake because of this and this. So they rely on those number masses. So when every show they give, the larger numbers always overtrump the smaller numbers. So it's not really a big deal. You know, I have people who say, Lonnie, I know how you do this piece of magic. And then they go about it and explain it in a different way or in the same way that it's done. But it's like they still want to see it, but they still believe it. Just because they know that it's not real doesn't mean that they don't enjoy seeing it. So I think that they control the masses on a large stage scale based on numbers.
Wow. So it's really like a massive confidence trick.
Yeah.
They know the numbers are going to go in their favor, and so they can keep pushing these ideas on people until they're accepted. Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, if they the lengths that they go to educate people, to then educate the younger people, they go to a lot of effort, and that is all adding to the illusion, that people are entwined in.
In the beginning, in the 50s and 60s, they had a good thing going. In my personal opinion, this is my personal opinion, is I honestly believe that it started with minded people. That's what I believe, because they pulled off this black screen, what we would call a green screen today, this black screen illusion kit on everybody when it came to going to the moon. And everybody believed it. Doesn't matter if, scientifically it was impossible at the time and the capabilities weren't there. People still believed it by the masses because they were told. And those that didn't believe it, doesn't matter because they're a smaller number. I think that they had something good going on in the beginning, and now that with the technology we have now, expectations are like, well, we should be able to see the flag on the moon. That's what we should be able to see. That's the expectations I have if we're zooming into galaxies, or if we're getting all these high resolution shots of the sun producing some kind of, what do they call them, radioactive waves. What do they call those? I forget the term. I'm sorry. Solar waves.
Yeah.
Expectations are different today than what they were then, and I don't believe the same people in office now were the same like-minded people in office then.
No. It's as if the biggest mistake they've made is letting the normal people have this technology. It shuts us off in a lot of ways because we're always looking at our phones and not engaging with the average man on the street. But on the other hand, like you say, we expect a much better quality now.
Well, I think we expect at least a picture of the Earth. That would be fucking good, wouldn't it? Even just like one real picture of the Earth.
Yes. Well, even now they've just
that Hubble's telescope thing, turn it around and take a picture of Earth. That's all they got to do.
Yeah, but they've got to show it spinning as well now, because the capabilities now of what they're saying they've got should be able to show the Earth spinning as what they're saying, which it's rubbish.
Agreed. No, I would ask anyone in the ISIS is when they're doing all these interviews that are 2 to 8 minutes long, why can't they take the camera and point it right outside their little window and show us a picture of Earth? You know, that's what why not do that? Take your damn camera and say, hey, this is how beautiful this round Earth looks. But they can't do that because they're not really up there.
Yeah.
They're not really in space, you know. It's ridiculous. It's called stage. Very familiar with the terms of how they make that work, you know. When it comes down to easy stuff, that should be able to be done by a company that produces billions of dollars of equipment. You know, if we're shooting from galaxy to galaxy, give the people what they want. Show us a real-time Earth spinning. You know, the rotation of Earth spinning in real time. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The fake one looks absolutely stupid. It just it does. I've seen it turn. It just jumps. It's just crazy.
One thing that NASA like to do is they they like to put obvious things in there for us, like the outline of Pluto on the planet Pluto, and then for Halloween they had a dead comet that was in the shape of a skull. You know, and you can find Mickey Mouse has been to space about 15 times if you've been paying attention. So it's, you know, those things to me are so obvious. What do you think other people are making of them?
I've always thought that in NASA were one of the same. One of the first things that I linked together was Tinkerbell making a dome reference with her pixie dust over the logo of Disneyland. That was one of the first links I put together in my mind, and I'm like, man, that's crazy that they would reference that, you know. And then you start seeing all these other references in movies that they do. Tomorrowland, they made a NASA reference in there as well, and I thought, you know, they're back at their same crap. So you have to go back to the beginning stages now of Disney, where Walt was alive and he was in the beginning stages. You know, a lot of people didn't know that Walt was a master illusionist, and I think that him being that way and was able to throw funding in a certain direction mixed with entertainment, I think that had an impact on people as well. So it changed the way people viewed stuff. But you know, as for what's above us, you know, that's an interesting thing that Walt Disney touched on in some of his cartoons. I don't know. I just think that NASA and Disney are always going to be connected in some way, shape, or form, whether it be exposing some of the hidden features of flat Earth in movies reference, or whether it be trying to monopolize the idea of what space really looks like.
Yeah, they've been building our perception of space now for a long time, and it is them that have given us our ideas of outer space and what it should be like. Another thing I noticed about the ISS is they've been up there now for over 15 years, and they're still studying the effects of gravity on the human body after 15 years. Like, I'm sure after 15 years of running on that treadmill, you know, tied to it, they would have got some answers by now.
That's funny is with the whole gravity thing. When I do magic, I try to do visual magic, so to defy what logic and scientific law would be. That's my goal in magic. It's not to fool anyone, it's just to entertain them with the possibilities of something different. So with gravity, it has never been proven, and this is an argument I have with globalists all the time. They say that, you know, gravity has to exist. That's why all the water sticks to the ball, and it's because there's the magnetic core, or it's got the infrastructure of the ozone, and I mean the things that they came up with to give an excuse for gravity. But if you look gravity up, even the definition of gravity, it doesn't say scientific law. You know, it's a theory, and it's crazy how people adopt that as if it was scientific law to run with more theory based on a method that is nothing but a theory.
Yeah. And also the other one that they use for the universe is dark matter, and this, you know, the dark matter is supposed to be the equal opposite reaction to gravity or whatever, and they can't exist without each other, but neither of them have ever been found. You can't measure it, you can't touch it, taste it, anything, but that's how it all works. And none of it has any actual bearing on reality, or, you know, the way things actually feel like they exist in the way we live our lives.
I would have to ask the scientists that said that they can't live without each other. How would they know?
Yeah.
You know, how would they know? You know, it's like with me, I do like the Darwin evolution. I took that policy on observable physical evidence, and I think that when they throw numbers and things like that out there, they try to sidetrack everybody, because if you see this gigantic problem in front of you, like a mathematical problem, if you love with numbers, you're going to dread trying to do that problem, you know, and that's something that people rely on, that a strategy that they rely on. They throw the gigantic numbers out there, and they throw these other unbelievable aspects of like these two equal and opposite reactions not being able to live without one another. I would have to ask those scientists, you know, can you show me there? That's what I think that as a flat earther, that's the kind of evidence people are looking for from me, something that's physical and solid. And if I make an accusation, I have to be able to back that accusation up, and I would only expect the same from anyone different.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because a lot of the time we are expected just to accept things at face value, just, you know, because somebody told us. You know, and it's usually the television or somebody in the education system. But it's always those two things. So, and we don't get any tangible proof of it, but we just expected to accept it. Do you feel like people's attitudes are changing towards that? Like, people, you know, want more evidence for things, and people want to find out for themselves. They don't just want to be told it, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, like it's when I run into people all the time that ask about the flat Earth. What is that? Every time I go to a drive-through, or every time I go in to pay for gas. Again, I'm not lying. I mean, I probably go through. I know I go through 5 flats a week at minimal. So I wear them because I want to promote them. But they ask about that, and I don't give them any stationary. Yeah. I think his name is Jason Miles Cobb. Just got him one. I want to say thank you, Jason, for the purchase. Yeah, I mean, the hat, man, it definitely does. Where I'm at, it's one of a kind. You know, I remember when it was one, but it's. I think that it's a help. It's helping advertise what I'm looking to advertise, and I'm not trying to make millions of dollars by doing this. In fact, every dollar I've made is still in my PayPal account. I haven't spent any of it. I don't plan on doing it for money. It wasn't for that. I lose money when I do this. You know, I don't make anybody pay for shipping and handling. I want them to feel like this. They want to be able to enjoy the same things that I'm doing. So back to the original question. So I'm sorry. You know, when people are when they're becoming aware of classes, they want to know as much as possible. But there's a different research and browsing. Some people will only browse for an hour and say, "Oh, okay, so I didn't find anything that, you know, has me question what I believe now, so it's got to be fake." You have to do research. You cannot be biased in this. And I think that when people are doing research now, I think the majority of them are waking up to saying, hey, well, that just doesn't make sense. Who was alive, 90 something million years ago to observe this evolutionary change? Who was that? Let me see the blueprints for that document. I think that people are waking up to these simple things because we were so blinded, and the education system was so misinformant of the education that they were producing for us, that it's just typically and natural for you not to pay attention.
Talking of the education system, the other thing that the ISS is always really busy on is school phone-ins. I looked on the ISS schedule the other day, and they are jam-packed with school phone-ins, constantly making the kids believe that they're talking to a spaceman in space. And it kind of reminds me of, do you remember when they were trying to scare everybody with nuclear weapons, and the kids had to do that thing in school, that practice to go under the desk and hide from the...
Yeah,
it's that kind of same brainwashing, involving them in this thing that's not real at all.
That's that they use to sidetrack and misdirect people. There's a gentleman, I'm not giving him a shout out, but his name is Han Wong. He worked for the CIA, and I happened to go to one of his seminars because he was the quickest and fastest hypnotist on Earth, and I wanted to be a part of that. And a lot of stories, telling actually the whole group about stories about CIA stories, and how they were trying to develop a method to get everyone to react the way they wanted them to react. So what they would do is they would take individuals and place them inside these dark bunkers, and they would throw a flash grenade in there, and when the flash grenade would go off, they would say, get down, and 9 out of 10 people, out of every 10 people, would get down. It's like they would react to the sound and react to the demand because they were hit by something, or fear kicked in. So every time fear kicks in, now that's the way it works. They're starting to say, hey, get down, or pay attention to what I'm telling you. These are the steps you should take, etc. They're just doing it in a much larger scale.
Yeah, it's scary when you think about it, and you think about how easily led we are as a species. We definitely have that herd mentality where we want to follow the leader and all group together. When you've been doing your research, what was the thing that really struck you as like the most obvious thing?
You
what
mentioned
was before the Tinkerbell thing.
So the selling point for a flat Earth, I was doing hollow Earth research for 3 years, and I was on top of it, and I came across flat Earth once before, and I was like, oh, that's stupid. There's no way the Earth is flat. That's so dumb. And I just panned over it. And then one day I was doing some more hollow Earth research, and I seen it. I'm like, why not? So I clicked on a video. It was a 4-minute video. I looked at it. I'm like, well, that just doesn't, it's not enough. So I got to do more. So they kept talking about the horizon, and then one of the first things I learned was the illusion of the horizon line with the boat looked like it's going with the curvature. That illusion, the mirage. And I learned about that. I'm like, okay, so I got to go try it. Since I do shows at casinos that are on the ocean, my hotel room would have a great view of the ocean front, so I could see the horizon. And I would take pieces of paper and tape them on the window to see if that horizon stayed flat all the way across my window. And I'm like, well, that's pretty impressive. So I grabbed a telescope and I zoomed in. And I couldn't get over the fact that the whole horizon, every ocean that I went to, every beach I've ever been to, every horizon I've seen from a plane, anything has been flat. It was mind-boggling that I should see a curvature. So for me, the selling point was that I could see, excuse me, I got traffic passing by. I could see the horizon and how flat it was, no matter how high I went, no matter how far I went, and it never changed me. And that was the selling point, was the flat horizon, because no one can explain it. No one can explain it. They'll give you an explanation, that fits their puzzle. But if it doesn't make sense to us, it's like, well, that's the way it is. And it's only acceptable on a ball version. But I don't work on a ball version. You guys don't work on a ball version. It's a flat version. So their policies and principles would never work on a flat version.
I always find it was rather clever how they created the map to fit both models, like with the distance of the sun and the angle of light and things. Like they must have deliberately built, like calculus for gravity, and they measured out everything to fit precisely. Well, I know they did, because when you look at the numerology of everything, 6 comes up so many times in the distances and everything. So yeah, I just think that it's obviously very clever the way they've done it. When you was researching Hollow Earth, you must have come across the annual bird.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Also, him going to the North Pole kind of ignited the Hollow Earth theory, as far as I can see. But obviously, he links into flat Earth. What do you think that he knew about the flat Earth?
So I go back to Project High Jump. Well, the name itself triggers me. Project High Jump. So they go there, and I've seen so much documentation on it. I don't know if it's all authentic or it's not authentic, but I had to think from a case about Admiral Byrd going to Antarctica and coming across more land. That is one theory that was out there, and based on his diary and the amount of times that he made it to the Antarctica. But there's also another guy by the name of Kurt Unger, Nazi sub, that made it to another location on the ice. Why? Under the ice. And in his account, he talks about his submarine going under the ice. And then in Admiral Byrd's account, he talks about finding land. When in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe they mixed them up. Maybe they mismatched, because the North Pole on a flat Earth would be our dead center of the map, instead of going in Antarctica. And he claimed that they found unlimited resources around the size of North America, United States. And if you do the imagery comparison, you'll see that the United States is similar to what the North Pole would be on a flat Earth map. So I think that in my mind that Admiral Byrd went to the North Pole in the center of flat Earth, and they just mixed the stories up to maybe misinform and sidetrack and misdirect us from finding trails. And then there's the Kurt Unger, who specifically talks about going under the ice, which is around, I believe, the circumference of the ice ring.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. So there's a lot of stuff to learn about in both regions, and for me, learning about both of them, really the key to understanding, the nature of this place that we live on. And a lot of people will argue that, oh, what does it matter what shape the Earth is? But I feel that it's of utmost importance, because we need to know, where we are, to know where we're from, and know what we are. So.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think that it's interesting where I came from. I want to know why I'm here. I want to know the ins and outs. The one things that I don't really care to argue about are models. Like I have my own personal model that I believe in. That evidence leads me to believe Earth looks like this. But I don't preach that to everybody. I only want people to look and observe for themselves and open their mind up and walk into it without being biased. Once you approach it, and the term, once you go flat, you never go back, because that's true. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. You will always see how flat it is. You will point it out in every movie you see. You will point it out in every picture you come across at a doctor's office or in the public. When you look in the sky, you're like, oh, those are chemtrails. You know, they're preventing us from gaining the electromagnetic energy from our surroundings, etc. It's always going to be there, and I just want to open as many people's minds up as possible, because that's important to me. A model or these leadership stuff, you know, I'm not really big on this leadership arguing. I don't follow nobody. I follow myself. I'm an independent researcher. I do my own research or hug on anybody's coattails. I don't advise anybody else to. I think that you be your own leader and you be your own boss, and you know, try different things. But the important part for me is to have fun doing it. Like I made that Lord Stephen Christ video. I had a blast doing it. I got some slack, but I had such a great time doing it. I've got other videos that I'm doing. It's just to break the ice, because I feel like flat Earth sometimes gets really serious, and you know, it takes away from us being a human. You know, it takes away from us being a human.
Yeah, and it takes away the fact that flat Earth is quite spiritual. Well, it is very spiritual. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course, man. I've become more spiritual. So there's this video, and I've got no problem exposing what kind of motto I support, because I've got no shame in my game. There's this video about an amateur.
I'm gonna make a meme about that, Nonny. No shame in my game.
I saw a video of this amateur rocket launch going 73 miles up, and the first thing I noticed was there was a boundary. There was a boundary when the rocket was rotating while it was high in space. There was a boundary, and I recognized that, and it hit me so hard inside of my chest, and because I acknowledged at that moment, like, holy crap. You know, I can see all these different things coming. They're trying to hide the creator now. I can see that. I can see why, you know, like this is no accident. We're not here by an accident. We're not a plague. We're not a virus. You know, we weren't put here mistakenly. You know, we were designed for this environment. But it was just something that changed my perspective on it, and it made me become more spiritual in a sense, and recognizing the creator more in my mind.
Yeah, it puts a new meaning on that old saying, the sky's the limit, because now to me that's a literal sense, whereas before it was more of a metaphorical meaning for me, and now I feel like, oh yeah, the sky is the limit, you know, that's as far as we're permitted to go. And I feel like a lot of things make more sense now.
I couldn't hear you. I apologize.
I was just saying, I feel like a lot of things make more sense now. You know, things just kind of click into place, you know.
Right.
And what you were saying before about, you know, spotted it in all the movies and all the advertisements, the media and stuff. I think my husband thinks I've lost my mind, because every time something comes on, I'm like, flat Earth, look, it's there. They're telling you all the time, you know. And it's like your eyes, once your eyes are open to it, you can't shut off from it again.
Yes. I mean, it's a disease for me. I go to sleep thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. And I have to remind myself that I have a life outside of that. And it's so difficult because, you know, being that I'm attracted to magic and I'm attracted to strange and wondrous things, flat Earth has bred my attention like nothing else. Magic wasn't even this much attentive to for me, and it was something that I just want to practice. Like the comments I have when people talk to me about it, they're going to just discard what I have to say. Like, I don't have any information on flat Earth or anything that can back it up. In every conversation I've ever had, I've had them questioning, well, that is weird, isn't it? That is weird. Yes. You know, we provide physical facts that are observable, while they provide simulations and graphs and math that's not physically observable, but it's an accepted piece of evidence for some weird reason. You know, I never understood that. I don't understand how you can ignore physical, solid, observable evidence and then just tape over it with some math, like 2 + 2 is 4. Yes, 2 + 2 is 4, but it can also equal 9, you know, depending on what math style you're using. You know, I just don't understand it.
I think you've been like that, haven't you, Victoria?
Yeah,
Since
definitely.
you got into this, you've not been able to put your phone down.
I know, yeah. It's just the word I keep using is it's consumed me completely. It's like as soon as all the other truths I was looking into first, and then as soon as I actually discovered that the Earth is flat, it's just been, I've not been able to stop soaking up information. It's just been full on. Like you said, the moment you wake up, it's there, and you can't stop thinking about it till the moment you go to sleep. And I can't stop watching stuff on YouTube, on everything on Facebook, and just can't get enough of it.
I think because it makes you re-examine your surroundings and your reality, it puts wonder back into the world again. Whereas before, everything felt like it was boxed off, and there's nothing new to look at. You know, carry on with your day-to-day stuff, pay your taxes. But now, it feels like everything's new. You know, we're going to start again and relearn everything properly this time.
I feel we've got a purpose now in life. I've always had my kids and things like that, and they was my main focus. But since Flat Earth, it's like I feel like my purpose is to try and get people to see it as well, and to see what lies they've been telling, and just open their eyes to wake up to everything, so that everybody knows, because it's wrong what they're getting away with, and it shouldn't be happening. I don't know if I read it or if someone said it, but it takes only a certain amount of generations, a few generations, before they can completely change the history of what people know. And that's exactly what they've done. And because they've you know, kept on saying the same thing for, like, say, a few generations, then people believe it to be true, and it's not true, and they've manipulated all the history books and everything, so people think it's real, and it's not.
I agree. We're still celebrating Christopher Columbus Day over here, and this is after acknowledging that he did not discover him. But why are we still celebrating this day? That's how corrupted history is. They take certain things out of history that they don't want us to know about, and then they just completely take it away. You know, for example, I was looking for a card on the Illuminati game that was created in 1995 by Steven Jackson. And I'd watched this first time 9 years ago, 8-9 years ago, and there was this card that showed a hovering city above and I'd seen the card a couple times. I went to look for it the other day to use it as a reference point for the city, or the flying cities that they've been showing in China, and I seen one in UK, I believe, on video. That they're claiming are mirages, but I wanted to reference this card, and this card is not on file. It's nowhere on YouTube anymore. We tried to Google it. I've had other friends try to Google it as well. Couldn't find it. I called the company up itself, and they told me that they no longer make original set of cards.
Wow.
Is that like the Mandela effect? Because I've heard things are going missing, they're changing the words of things, and it's just very strange what's going on.
Yes. I think I think that's his last name. He was talking. He was asking me some certain questions about, like, movies that I remember as a childhood and certain references, and then only to have them not be the same references, like they're like somehow my memory was changed in between that time and now.
And I think they've already got a legitimate explanation for it on Wikipedia. I think they're calling it like a mass unremembering, or a mass forgetting, or something like that. You know, it's like just creating these things when they're altering the timelines of stuff. You know.
It's a possible reality, isn't it? Because it's everything what and then they're changing it and they're just manipulating it way to see if they can get away with it. Maybe they're going to try and manipulate something a bit more on a large scale, but who knows? And they're doing it on the smaller scale to see if they can get away with. But there's something very funny going on.
No, it's fascinating what they're doing. I mean, this Mandela stuff, I've had a little look into it, but I kind of don't want to take my focus off of it kind of takes my focus off of flat Earth and what I'm doing on that. So I've made my choice. It's not a fucking ball. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's tell people and move on. I don't think it's like we used to sit there for hours discussing curve.
Yeah.
And horizons and shit like that. It's like, I don't know, it's like, I think it's a troll move, that one. I'm talking about curve. a non-existent curve for 5 hours. That's, yeah.
I think what Lonnie said before about when you go down the rabbit hole is so true, because there's so my analogy of it was like you open a door and it's a long corridor and you've got doors on it, and every door that you open there's another door, and I'm finding that the stuff with flat Earth and all the rest of it is just a continuation of another door, and you feel like you've done everything in that one room, and then there's another door, and it just keeps going on and on and on. It's just so deep.
That's right. It's the indies, and you just never know what's going to happen. You know, you mentioned something about generations changing within 2 or 3 or 4 generations. I mean, I think that this flat Earth thing is so much closer in the next few generations to being exposed, because there's only so much. You know, I have a friend that I'm trying to talk to him, and he's a lawyer, and I want him to see if you can sue NASA. If you can find, evidence against NASA's findings about or what they're providing to us, and if it's possible to sue them. He has not responded back to me. I'm sure he will, as he's a family friend, so he can't ignore me forever. But I think that as long as they attempt to run the show, they're getting sloppy now, because it's a different era. It's a different generation that's running the show now than was 40, 50 years ago. It's a different mindset. We have a technological mindset now, so everything's like, oh, let's just add all these cool colors and all these cool galaxies, but we can zoom in billions of miles away, but we can't show the flag that's on the closest body to Earth, or what the dark side of the moon looks like. I think that the further we get from now, the closer we'll get to exposure, because I don't think that the people behind it are mature enough to keep this going. I think that they're getting sloppy, and with them getting sloppy, that allows everyone the chance and opportunity for exposure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Lonnie. I think as well, what they're waiting for is a lot of people to die off who was originally in on all the lies, like except for the moon landings and things like that. And I think that as they do die off, then obviously things more, because no one's going to get done for it then.
No one's going to get done for it.
No. I don't think they ever intended on ever getting caught, I don't think. They must have thought at some point they can only take it so far. I don't know. I was talking...
I don't know. I tend to think they're psychopaths, and they honestly believe they can do what they bloody want.
I agree.
I think that they believe. I think they believe they can do whatever they want. So when you have a conversation with someone who believes the Earth is a ball, compared to a conversation to a person that's flat. When you have a conversation with someone that knows the Earth is flat, they no longer work on the principles that apply to the ball image, and that's where I'm at. I think that if I ever had the opportunity to have mass exposure, and if I could think of a way to expose this, to reach masses, I think I would want to do it, in a physical, observable way. Well, NASA cannot do that. They can't be physical. They can't be observable. They have to use screenshots. They have to use video editing. They have to use wires. They have to use background sets. Like I think when NASA does, yeah, swimming pool, exactly. When they do the swimming pool thing, I'm a believer in this. Above us, there is a liquid substance above us. In my personal opinion, there is a liquid substance above us, and that is why NASA is routinely practicing underwater. Is because the liquid substance is similar to water. It is transparent, and again, that's just my personal opinion. I believe there's something liquidy, like gelatin, up there that's transparent.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, well, I've had that thought myself because I always go back to I'm not majorly religious, but I always go back to that Bible reference where I don't know it off by heart, but where he took the firmament and separated the waters from above from the waters from below, and I always took that to be like that there's waters up there. And we have the stars spinning in the opposite directions for the northern and southern hemisphere, we'll call it for the sake of argument. I always thought this is just my theory, but if you ever take a wooden spoon and swirl it around in a pan of water, eventually the water winds up spinning in two opposite directions. So it could be that there's some kind of little, I don't know, like it's on separate wheels or something. I don't know, but that's just my little view on that.
I'd heard about the biblical reference before. But I think what brought me to thinking that there was a liquid substance up there was that same video, that amateur rocket launch, because I believe that rocket launch has so much to offer in just that one video. When it shoots up at a tremendous rate, and it reaches space within a matter of a couple of minutes, and then it hits something solid from moving so fast and slows down its rotation. But whatever it hit wasn't really solid. It was a transparent substance because it didn't cause any damage to the rocket itself. It didn't even obscure the camera view or even shake it. So it led me to believe that there's a liquid, transparent substance up there. Again, that brings me back to these other videos of these balloon launches. Daryl's going to do a balloon launch, which is going to be awesome. Yeah, and I'm willing to bet you're not going to see any stars. And how is that? How are we not seeing any stars in all of these videos?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I think that they can only be viewed from below a certain altitude. I think it's to do with perception again, but it's amazing to think about, because we don't know. I actually was watching a video today that someone zoomed in on the star Sirius A, and with one of those Canon cameras, and the things are beautiful. It's like geometrical shape to the outside, and it's glowing a little bit on the inside. It's not a ball of fire. It's not a sun that's billions of miles away.
No, it's not, and it reminds me of an LED light, like a giant LED light.
Yeah, it's flickering, aren't they? They like flicker in a weird way, like they're vibrating almost.
Yes.
It's not what we've been told. I'm pretty sure of that. I like what the Eric Dollard video, what he says about stars. When he talks about space, I don't know if any of you guys have seen
I've not seen that. What does he say?
He's talking about like that all the theories fall apart when you can't see the stars in space, and I don't quite understand it. Or I would have thought if the sun was that far away, the whole of space would be lit up. That's just my crazy head. You know.
You would think that, though, wouldn't you? It is very strange that you can't see the stars when you go above the clouds.
Yeah.
When you can see them from a lot when we're on the ground.
You know, someone also pointed out that the stars are further than the moon, and if that was the case, how are we able to see the stars? I'm not further than the moon. I'm sorry, further than the sun. But how are we able to see these stars? That the light's traveling from so far away and it takes so long to get to us. How come the sun's rays never reach the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
that was it. That's all I had on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, someone did a video on that actually.
They just don't know. They don't know. They can't admit. They're doing all this because they can't admit that they don't fucking know. That's why they're doing all this. It's all ego, man. They're too egotistical to just say, look, you know, we got it wrong. It's not a ball. So we've been lying a little bit. What?
I was just saying they've got to keep this lie up now because they've started it. They've drained loads of money from the public for it, and so they've got to keep it up. Otherwise, obviously, I think it's gonna cause a lot of trouble when it comes out, because I think it is gonna come out at some point. I hope it happens soon. But
I agree with what I think what Lonnie said. It's a lot of people know.
Yeah.
It's not as underground as you think. A lot of people know, man. And for years and years, they thought the people thought the moon landings were fake. But since they happened, I think there's been a lot of people questioning the moon. But
I agree. You know, Barack Obama even made a joke about it. You know, the next thing that we're going to do is open an investigation on the moon landing. You know, why is that funny? It's only funny because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I think Barack Obama.
Go on. You were speaking there.
Ladies first. Go ahead. Sorry.
But me.
Yeah, you, Victoria.
No, I was just gonna say, the ones that still do believe that the moon landings were real, I don't know how they can do, because supposedly, I don't know what computer they said, but something like a Nintendo 64, the power of that was supposedly what took them to the moon, and that in itself just is without anything else, and then you've got to get through the radiation and all the rest of it, and then the costumes what they had on, and it's just none of it makes sense. And then when you look at the pictures what they took back of Earth, they didn't even get the right size of what Earth would have been, because they put it the same size as what the moon would have been from when you take it. You know, when you stood on Earth and you look at the moon, it's a certain size, and when they did it the other way around, they put Earth as the same size as what the moon was.
As the moon. Yes.
They just got so many things wrong, and then you still got people believing that it happened. I know there's a lot that don't now, but everybody believe it. They still believe it. It's crazy.
I know when I talk about the moon landing, I just tell them, look at the moon. That's the only side of the moon you ever see. Just imagine that shape. So you want to say when they landed, all that shit was pointed sideways, like they're doing the Michael Jackson moonwalk sideways, like you walk up a building, and you're telling me that they didn't fall down or they didn't go up or out. Their shoes, their boots held them to the moon surface. I mean, I just pointed out, and I try to to feed that information, because most people will discredit it because they think that, oh, well, we've been to the moon. The government says it, so we have to believe it. But if you think about it, like when I look at the moon right now, I find it so hard to believe that, you know, someone's walking on that moon. Someone's walking on that ball.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And how do I know it's a ball? I don't know if it's a ball. It could be flat. I don't know. Crow
You know what?
777.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just saying, I don't know where a ball. I just know that Crow 777 had found a lunar wave, and he had also provided other links from other individuals who had recorded this lunar wave going over the moon. And he never says anything about aliens. He just says it's technology. And there's, you know, imprinted over the moon. I think that it's very possible that it could either be flat or it could either be round or a ball. I'm not.
That's the thing. They don't even know what it is, and they're trying to convince people that they've landed on it, and yet they've not even been more than what is it, 12 miles down.
Well, what got me when I was finding out about flat Earth as well with the moon is exactly what you said. You only ever see the one face, and they're going on about it rotating and everything, and that they were supposedly, if they went and landed on the moon, didn't they go around it to get back? So why didn't they take pictures of the other side? It's just ridiculous. I do have the feeling though that the moon isn't necessarily a sphere. It's got like a curve on it, because it feels like it's got a curve on it from what you look at it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a ball. It could be like, you know, like a disc shape, but I don't know. This is just me guessing.
Yeah, it could be like a button. You know, I don't know. And what I do know is watching the video that Crow provided and the other ones that people have provided after him, it shares that there is some kind of technology that is going over it. Maybe it's to give the moon craters. You know, that's another thing with the craters. You know, they always stay in the same position unless you're, you know, the southern hemisphere. They say it changes. I have never seen it. I don't know. But I think that, you know, maybe that technology that Crow has showed that is on this moon helps that image or whatever if it changes it.
Yeah. Well, another thing I've seen recently on Facebook with the moon is that, you know, people in different parts of the Earth, if someone has took a picture in the daytime with the moon showing, and then someone taking a picture over at supposedly the other side, taking a picture of the moon in the dark, and they can see it. They think that's on the globe.
Yeah, they both took the picture at the exact same moment.
That's right.
Within 5 minutes of each other, and they were on opposite sides of the globe, apparently.
Flat Earth, because you wouldn't be able to see it if it was flat. You wouldn't be able to see it if it was a globe, because you'd be opposite ends.
Right. I did an experiment with another magician friend. His name is Chan Hin, and he is in China. So I had seen the moon and the sun out sharing the same sky here in Washington a few months back. And instead of, you know, calling him on the phone, I had seen if he was awake, because I knew that he had nighttime. And I had messaged him and asked him if he had time to Skype, and he said, and I asked him if he can see the moon. He says he can see the moon. He doesn't know I'm a flat earther, though. I didn't tell him I was a flat earther. And so he shows me the moon on his phone through Skype at night, while I have the moon out in Washington at 2 o'clock in the daytime.
Wow.
And we took snapshots of that, and we took snapshots. It's time framed, so we have, you know, physical researchable evidence that we can look back on, and it's just very interesting how that happened. And that was one of the first things I thought about, like, hey, you know, you can get a hold of somebody that's on the opposite of where you're supposed to be, and if you have the moon and if they have the moon, that can only be possible on a flat plane.
Exactly.
What did you think that was in the Flat Earth News last week was that the lady that was on the flight from Bali to Los Angeles, I think.
In Alaska,
And
she landed in Alaska.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, the one that had the baby, yeah.
Yeah, the flight cast, they're very, very good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was just saying, I've tried to get my head around that, and I can't figure how on the globe Alaska would have been a quicker option, an emergency landing.
It made it like it would have gone like 100, or I don't know how many miles, but it was going completely out of the way to come back down again. But on the flat Earth, it was directly over it. It was like almost in the middle of where it was going. So they touched down and carried straight on. Whereas if it was a globe, it would have just been completely nonsensical to go to Alaska and then come back down again.
But do you think that's one of those stories that they deliberately put out there, you know, to feed to your subconscious, to let your subconscious know that this is where you really live, to keep everything balanced? Or do you think that was a mistake on their part? I don't know.
I think everything's calculated.
Lonnie, what have you got any plans for the future with your flat earth magic and activism?
I do. I'm glad you asked. So I'm not sure if I can. We're going to do something that is going to draw a lot of attention. And though I don't have very many supporters in my idea, I got one, and that's all I need, because it requires 2 people. So, but we're working this year before December 31st happens, and to us, it's going to be so huge, and it's going to be huge for the Flat Earth community, and I think that it's just going to draw attention to us, and I think that's good. I want to draw attention to us, but before that time, we're also going on an observation flight this upcoming weekend for our second observation flight with some parachutists, because they say that they see the curvature while they're up parachuting. I call bullshit. I said, you don't see no curvature. It's not possible. And so we're going up there next weekend again to do some observation flight and record while they're jumping, just to show that it's all flat.
Oh, that's fantastic. And if anyone wants to catch up with your work, they can find that at Flat Earth Magic on YouTube. And is there anywhere people can get your hats from, Lonnie?
I mean, I sell them myself. I make them myself, and I feel terrible giving myself a shout out on this, because it makes me feel like I'm a vulture, and I'm not. Again, every cent I ever made from selling every shirt or every hat, I have not spent $1 yet. I have not. I don't have any. I would like to take that money and do the same thing that Daryl's doing, is invest it in research and experiments. That's my goal. I mean, so I'm okay, but I do sell them. I sell hats and shirts because it's easier for me to do that. If it's the only Lonnie Lyerla in the world, feel free to hit me up on Facebook. I wouldn't give my personal number out, but I think I'll get in trouble if I did that.
Yeah. That's great. I just want to thank everyone for staying up and doing this hangout, because it's really late now it's early morning actually, 4:45 a.m. in the UK.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot. It's 7:42 p.m. here. That means it's almost 4 o'clock there.
Yeah. Lonnie, I want to thank you for joining us tonight, because it's been awesome.
Thank you for having me.
With you and getting to know you.
Right, friends, Bobby Bang Bang here with a little video for you. It's a song I put together, a little rendition of sorts, if you like. Hope you enjoy. I heard the news today, oh boy. The earth is flat and there's no outer space. And though the news was rather bland, I just had to laugh. NASA's got photographs. Kubrick tried to get it out. He didn't know if their perception had changed. The crowd of sheeple sat and stared. They'd seen this film before, but nobody could really see what he had been so cryptic for. I saw a film today, oh boy. More propaganda puking scientists. The brainwashed masses bought the ball. But I've no cash at all to pass to Jesuit crooks. I'd love to turn you on. Woke up, where is the edge? A nagging knowing it extends. I make my way out there and take a look. A vast expanse and the spirit's not obey. See, there's a dome, protected land. Make the public understand. We'll build a spiral staircase and smash the dome. Then somebody spoke above the firmament, it seemed. Today, oh boy, we've been enclosed in an elaborate scheme, and though one hole is rather small, if we all poke them all, it's just a matter of time until the whole house of cards begins to I'd love to turn The song has been brought to you by NASA.